G'day everyone, Blake here with another video, and hopefully you enjoyed that intro. Today, of course, is the long-awaited updated full fish room tour. For those of you that are new to the channel, in late last year, I moved into a brand new house, which involved, of course, moving everything over here, including all 51 of the aquariums that I have running in this room right now. I won't run through the room too much because I did it in a previous video that I just released, but we have basically a heated room, insulated to perfection. We've got a dehumidifier over there, so you won't see any heaters in the tanks as we go through them, but be mindful that the room is heated so they're not actually required. But today we're going to run through tank by tank. I'll talk through what species I've got, maybe we'll talk about some plants, or maybe I'll just give you a few little factoids as we go through to keep it fun and light. But we've got a lot to get through with 51 aquariums, so we'll get started right at the tank by my ankles here with a 3-foot aquarium containing some Australian native common Galaxias and some Redfin Danios. Okay, so to get started, this is the first rack here. I built it myself, and we've got 4 3-foot aquariums, or 90 by 45 by 40 centimeters, or 3-foot by 18-inch by 16-inch aquariums on here. In the bottom corner there, we house my common Galaxias and Redfin Danios. Redfin Danios in particular, I think, are a really underrated fish because they kind of look like zebra Danios, so you sort of glance past them because zebra Danios are incredibly common, but Redfin Danios have a really beautiful deep blood orange color on their fins, which I think sets them apart. The Galaxias are going well, but they have developed a bit of a bent spine, which sometimes can be a sign of tuberculosis, I think. So I'm just dosing a bit of an antibiotic in there, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on in there. Really simple scape in there. I wouldn't exactly even say there's a scape in there. I haven't got this tank planted out yet, but I plan to do it in the near future. And next to that aquarium, I have a Tanganyika aquarium here with some Sardine cichlids and my lemon cichlids, also known as Neolamprologus Leleupi. Really cool tank with the Sardine cichlids hanging in the top portion of the aquarium and the lemon cichlids, or the Leleupi, at the bottom portion of the aquarium. Now, being a Tanganyikan aquarium, we're going to have high pH in here, so I've decorated with just some cerio stone and some sand so they can make some natural hides within the rockwork. And I've also put some spawning mops in there because if the Sardine cichlids do breed, what will happen is they're mouth brooding cichlids, and the female will actually spit the eggs out, usually into some roughage. So that surface there is just so that the babies, if they do survive, will have somewhere to hide. Overall though, I found this to be a really great combination with next to no issues whatsoever. Everyone seems to leave each other alone, which is always a plus when I do, on rare occasions, put different species of fish together. Now, moving up in the world, I have my 2 angelfish aquariums here. This one here has some blue sapphire angels in there, which I think are a really beautiful fish with some blue sheens, as the name would suggest. As well as that, I've got some Odessibarbs in here, which contrast nicely with a really nice streak of red and some good activity. Although the blue angelfish here have been breeding recently, so you'll find that the Odessibarbs are being scared away, and they're mostly hiding at the bottom of the terracotta pots. So that's kind of interesting to see, but Odessibarbs I thought were sort of a bigger fish and active enough to hold their own against some potential angelfish breeding, which seems to be the case. Next to my blue angelfish, I do have these Peruvian Altum angels, like Manicaparu angelfish here, which are beautiful fish, and they're going to get an orange head to them, which I think is really stunning. Kind of a more natural looking angelfish, but very tall and slender. But that's all that's in this aquarium, apart from some plants, which is just a really simple scape with some trident leaf Java fern, some Vallisneria, and some Amazon swords. Keeping it simple, but I'm hoping to get some breeding going with these guys soon. And I've got at least 1 or 2 males in there, which is really nice to see. Above those aquariums, we have my fry tanks, at least the start of my fry tanks. We've got 9 Kmart aquariums here, which are 20-litre starter aquariums available at Kmart, which is a different Kmart to the Kmart that was once in the United States. But in any case, it's a really nice cheap aquarium to get started with, super affordable. In the first 4 tanks here are all Celestial Pearl Danio fry, which seems to be something that I'm kind of specializing in. I'm generating a lot of Celestial Pearl Danios at the moment, but I'm definitely happy about that outcome. Really beautiful fish, very active, but I would say get them in bigger groups, more than 10, or you'll probably never see them. Very similar to Celestial Pearl Danios are their cousins, which is in the next tank over, and that's an Emerald Rasbora. I will show you some adults just shortly, but we have some fry in one of those tanks. There's some emerald rasboras, which I'm really excited about. And another sort of cousin next to those are some Choprae Danio, also known as glow light Danios. And they're kind of like glow light tetra, but in Danio form, much smaller, but beautiful fish nonetheless. Beautiful iridescent orange color on a beige body. Next to them, I have some fry from my Neolamprologus Caudopunctatus, which are a beautiful Tanganyikan cichlid. We'll take a look at the parents in a second. And then next to the Caudopunctatus, we have the fry from my Sardine cichlids, which are Cichlids Leptosoma utinta. Beautiful purple and yellow fish, and I'm really happy to get some fry out of those. So growing out those fry there, and eventually I'll probably put them back into the main colony just to beef out that colony a bit more. And the next tank to that, and the last one on this row here, is my culture of live blackworms. I keep a live culture of blackworms because live feeds are something that I'm really passionate about in my fish room, especially as a breeder and somebody who really aims toward breeding a lot of my fish. I find that live feeds are pretty much imperative to get that to happen. And live blackworms are definitely one of my secret weapons in trying to make that happen. So really simple culture to get going. I've definitely made a video about it before. We'll try and put a link above now. But yeah, if you're not culturing blackworms, then you probably should, because it's definitely worth doing. And next up on the tour is my fish tank bench. Again, I DIY'd this bench here. Something that's really simple. Same design as the stands, just with a bench top on it and only 2 layers high. I'm really glad that I did that. I could have easily gone 3 layers higher all the way around in the fish room, but I wanted the space to feel open and airy, and I'm pretty happy with my decision on that. I do wish that I raised it up a little bit though, because the tanks down the bottom are fairly low down. But other than that, pretty happy with how it came up. To get started, over in the corner, we have my Mr. Aqua bookshelf aquarium with some blue bolt shrimp in there, Caridina Shrimp. One of my absolute favorites. I really wish that I could get them going a bit more, but I'm tinkering with the water parameters at the moment to try and get them to breed. Managed to keep them stable, but in terms of actually breeding, not so much just yet. Next to that, I have my Emerald Rasbora breeding aquarium. Again, Emerald Rasbora is one of my absolute favorite fish. Super underrated fish, but very rare to find. So if you can, snatch him up while you see him, because you might not see him again for a long time. Yeah, about 10 Emerald Rasboras in there. Still very young, but yeah, I'm trying to get as many eggs out of them as I can. Next to those are my Celestial Pearl Danio breeding colony. Very high output from these guys, which I'm absolutely stoked about. Really low maintenance scape again, just some Anubias and whatnot. I don't want to get too many plants in there because I really want to encourage them to breed in my egg collector device, which I've taken out for the moment just so you can see inside the tank, but is usually in there 24/7. And that is this right here. If you haven't seen this before, I 3D printed this egg collection device. Basically, the way that it works is I put moss on the entry here with a little grate. The eggs go through a little hole down there into the back section with an acrylic window so that I can see what eggs or fry are hatching out in there. To get the water to flow through, I've just got a simple uplift there. Works the same way as a sponge filter basically. Sponge at the bottom so the eggs and fry don't get sucked through. Water goes up and spurts out, creating that flow, which is really helping me to hatch out all of these kind of Danios, like Celestial Pearl Danios, Emerald Rasboras, Redfin Danios, Choprae Danios. So I'm using this in all of those aquariums, but if they were in there, you just wouldn't have as good of a view as this tour continues. Next tank over to that is my Fluval Flex, which is a brilliant starter aquarium. Would recommend that to anyone looking to get into the hobby. I absolutely love it. It's been so set and forget. Buy the kit, put some aqua soil in it, put whatever plants you want, and I guarantee they'll do awesome. That's all I've done with mine. I've barely touched it since it's been set up. Inside there, we have some Florida flagfish and Siamese algae eater. But other than that, I probably need to get some more stock in here. Yeah, I'm just enjoying it for what it is at the moment. Really simple to set up, and I've been absolutely blown away with how minimal of algae has gone into this and how quickly it's balanced out. So yeah, definitely love this aquarium. And yeah, I wish I had a whole fish room full of them. Next to the Fluval Flex, I have a Bioscape cloud aquarium, which I think is 45 centimeters tall by 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters or something along those lines. And that houses my Pea Puffer. If you have been watching the channel for a while, this Pea Puffer here has caused me a lot of heartache because originally I had a group of 4 Pea Puffers, and once it got to maturity, well, it didn't like to have any other inhabitants in with it. And then I got 2 other juvenile Pea Puffers, which were quite small, raised them in hang-on breeder boxes until they were comparable size. But once again, although things went really well for a few months, eventually it decided again, I don't like any roommates. So that solitary Pea Puffer in there is gonna remain that way until it lives out its lifespan. But outside of that history and that drama, really, really fantastic fish, a bucket list fish because they're incredibly rare down here in Australia, and one that I'm privileged to have been able to keep for over 3 years now. So I'm really, really happy with that fish, and I still love it, even though it has caused me some heartache. In the next aquarium here, we have the Palludarium, which is 50 centimeters cubed, or I think it's 20 inches cubed. Beautiful Palludarium. I haven't really got started setting this up yet, but I did need to put the fish somewhere. So we've got some guppies in there, which started off as koi tuxedo guppies, but they started to throw some blondes and some other different variants of guppies, and I actually quite liked them. I kept them separated for a while, but at this point in time, I've just got them all together, just creating, you know, an interesting, different plethora of colors and just a different vibe for the guppies. So yeah, just really simple tank and a really beautiful fish, which is kind of an accident. And next to that, we have probably the best planted tank I've got at the moment, which is my Betta grower. I've got a couple of spawns actually of Bettas just growing out in there. A lot of people are a bit alarmed when I have multiple Bettas in one aquarium, but this is about a 30 gallon or 110 liters. It's a heavily planted aquarium with heaps of hiding spaces, and these Bettas here are cousins or brothers that have always been brought up as the spawn, as a group. So they're used to having tank mates, they're not territorial at all, and if they are, there's plenty of places to hide. So I've found it to be pretty much a hassle-free setup here. Really, really beautiful aquarium. I've got the Awaza Biomaster filter on there, which I absolutely love. So easy to clean. I've got the Weak Aqua light here, which is probably my favorite light at the moment in the fish room. And this one does get CO2 as well. So yeah, super, super fun aquarium. Again, very, very minimal dramas with this one. Minimal algae, super easy and just beautiful to watch. Then along the bottom row, I have 8 2-foot tanks situated long ways with a width of 30 centimeters or 1 foot and a height of 35 centimeters or 14 inches. Now, the first tank here has my bristlenose breeding colony. A lot of my tanks have bristlenose in them to help me keep up on the maintenance, but overall I just think they're a great fish to keep anyway. So of course we need to have a powerhouse colony to breed and keep up with demand, and that certainly happens in this first tank here, feeding lots of rapashi and zucchini and other good foods to keep that going. Next to them I have my Julidchromis Transriptus, an awesome rock-dwelling cichlid that I've found to be fantastic and actually has bred as a colony as well, which I'm super happy about. Although now that the initial spawn is starting to grow up, I suspect they're eating any future spawns, so I'll probably have to take them out or separate some parents and breed elsewhere from now on. Next to those, actually the tank had nothing in it until yesterday, where Bodgy from Australia dropped off some more Julidichromis as well, with the Julidichromis Dickfeldi, which I now have 2 of, and I'll be adding to that colony later. And then next to those, I have my Apistogramma Cacautoides. I sold all but 1 male, the best male I wanted to keep for myself, and I've got about 7 or 8 females in there to choose from, or I might let him choose from, and then I'll just hopefully get 1 more batch out of them to grow out and keep that cycle going. But yeah, I've bred Apistogramma Cacautoides for a number of years now, so probably looking at moving on to something else pretty soon in terms of Apistogramma. The next tank over to that, the one just past the middle leg of the fish bench, has my Choprae Danio in it. Again, beautiful fluorescent orange fish, subtle coloration, but fantastic nonetheless. Again, recommend keeping them in groups of 10 or more, or they're going to be incredibly skittish as mine are as I build that colony up. But I have had some fry and eggs out of these guys, which I'm stoked about, and hopefully we can keep that going and have a nice big breeding colony of those, just like I do with my CPDs. Next to those, I have another shell dweller. I have my Ocellatus golds, or gold ockies they're often called. Beautiful fish, but if you've started off with maybe some multifasciatus and then you want to get into some gold ockies, there is quite a jump in aggression, and yeah, I would suggest give them plenty of room and plenty of space to have territory, because they are quite feisty and they'll even attack your hands if you go into that aquarium. So I've got, yeah, just a grow out of a spawn that I had from my adults, which I no longer have, but I'm happy to have this spawn, and we'll try to get that circle going again of breeding, but yeah, they should be ready to move into a bigger aquarium soon actually. Next to that, I have a couple of my blue sapphire angelfish fry growing out as well. So there's about a dozen or so in there, which I was hoping for more, but I'm gonna be happy with that. 12 is certainly better than 0. So I'm gonna keep trying to add to that, and we'll try and get some more fry to grow out as a big group there, but I'm really happy to at least keep the line going for now. And the tank next to that doesn't have any fish at the moment, just some pearlweed. I did order some fish, but they didn't arrive in time, so that'll have to be a future fish room update that aquarium has something in it. Next up, we have my second rack that I've built. This here is a 4-foot rack, and these aquariums are 4 foot by 18 inch by 18 inch, or 120 centimeters by 45 centimeters by 45 centimeters. Well, I think with one exception of that one over there, which is actually 2 foot tall or 60 centimeters tall, but the rest of them are those dimensions. We'll get started here with my Neolamprologus Multifasciatus, the shell dweller, probably the most common shell dweller that you might see around the place, but a really, really fun tank. Heaps of just shells and sand. They do their own aquascaping in there. A bit of limestone, some base rock to keep the pH nice and high, and they do everything else. So they are breeding in this aquarium, they're raising multiple generations in this aquarium, and it's just set and forget. Such a simple aquarium. And I absolutely love species of fish like this that can be bred as a colony. So definitely recommend to any level of fish keeper to try out multis if you do like them. A lot of people, they're not going to be the flashiest fish out there with color and all that, but they have a really nice blue eye and some really fantastic behavior to make up for that. Next to them, we have another Lake Tanganyika, and we have my Neolamprologus Caudopunctatus, which we saw the fry for earlier. Again, there are some shells in this aquarium, but they're really more of a rock dweller than a shell dweller. I'm just trying them out with some larger shells or the terracotta pancake cave that I've made for them. But these guys have been breeding quite a bit until I just recently moved them to this larger aquarium. They were in a 2-foot aquarium, so I'm hoping to get that going again soon. Just sand, they'll again enjoy making their own tank space, their own, and they've cleared a little pit out in the back in the center as well, which you can probably see. Just some loose Java fern and some other plants in there that I'm just trying out to see how they go with it. But one of the most fantastic fish, I think. Really, really stunning. Canary yellow fins, white body, some nice spangling, and again that blue shell dweller eye, which is fantastic. So yeah, if you can find them, definitely go ahead and try out some Caudopunks as well. A fantastic fish. Moving up in the world, this tank here houses my 3 Senegal Bichirs. Fantastic fish. I absolutely love these guys. Dinosaur Bichirs are the common name. Probably again the most common Bichir available in the hobby. Heaps and heaps of personality. I've been surprised actually, they're not as shy as I would have thought, and they always catch the eye of visitors into my fish room. Trying them out with a few plants, which I have done in the past as well. And I find that the finer leafed plants generally will get a bit torn up, but any of the more broad leaf plants should be okay. But you can see there's just one over in the corner here. Beautiful fish. I think they're probably over the foot mark now. Very, very chunky boys, and hopefully boys and girls. But yeah, hopefully keep an eye on these and start to concentrate in on breeding them very soon. One interesting factoid, I guess, about these is I never really liked Senegal Bichirs before picking them up, but here in Australia, ornate Bichirs, which are the ones that I really want, actually costs about $500 or more. And I thought that was a pretty big expense to get into before actually trying them out whatsoever. So I thought I'd get some Senegals, try them out, and since doing that, I was so silly underrating these fish. Absolutely love them now, and yeah, it's so fun to see them grow and develop. Definitely the behavior and the size has been what has turned me around. So if you're on the fence about Bichirs, and Senegals are the ones that are most likely the ones that you're going to be able to pick up, do it, because they will grow on you. Then the last of these 4-foot aquariums hold my tricolor swordtails. This is one spawn, so they are all brother and sisters, but they have actually been making more in there, which I'm really excited to see. I thought that babies would have absolutely no chance of survival with this many fish in there, but once again, having a nice planted tank, I think has come through and saved the day, providing plenty of great hiding spots and infusoria and other things for them to eat on. Really beautiful fish. I like as well that there's a bit of variation amongst them. And yeah, I guess swordtails are again one of those fish that they're sort of around everywhere, and maybe they're not that high on the list of things that are really exciting to especially seasoned hobbyists. But I'm really glad that I got them, and again, I think they're super underrated. Some of the plants in this tank which does get CO2 are red tiger lotus, green tiger lotus, Opuntigeton crispus, Opuntigeton rigidifolia. We've got some Java fern, some crested Java fern, and some bulbitis as well. So some epiphytes in there as well. Yeah, fantastic tank that I think will only improve with age. And then up above these 4-foot aquariums, we have again some nanos here, and this is where I have a lot of my shrimp. So in terms of the Caridina species, we have crystal blacks behind me here. Next to them, some snow white shrimp, and then a little bit further down, we have my crystal red shrimp. All of the Caridina species are going okay and fairly stable, but I'm tinkering with the water parameters to try and get some more breeding happening in there. I always manage to sort of just have Caridina not breed for me, so I'm trying to dial things in a bit more and see if we can correct that. The only times I've actually been able to breed Caridina species is by accident when I stop watching, so maybe I should do that instead. But anyway, in terms of output though, the Neocaridina species I carry in here are all breeding and all producing really well. So the color variants I have of my Neos are the yellow, first of all, behind me here. We have some Bloody Marys a little bit further down, some blacks next to those, and then last of all, we have some Blue Dreams as well. Yeah, fantastic Neocaridina luck going on at the moment, and definitely love having some shrimp tanks in the fish room. I'm always going to do that. We did skip over a species of fish which is in this larger cube aquarium here in the center, and that species are my Gardneri killifish. I have 4 Gardneri killifish, 2 males, 2 females, and interesting story about these. These guys arrived to my fish room in the form of eggs. So there's a guy who watches my channel named Mark, and we get along really well. He has a lot of killifish, and he had some eggs from some Gardneris. I said that I'd definitely be interested, and he dropped them off on some sphagnum moss for me. We hatched them out, and that's what we've got. So I think it's really cool to consider that I've never actually had live Gardneri killies in my fish room that haven't hatched in the same fish room. So I guess that's kind of an interesting tidbit there. A bit further down the line, we have just a couple of spare aquariums that I'm just getting up and ready and cycling and so forth. So they're just plant grow out for the moment. Nothing to see in terms of stocking in the last 3. So we have 8 more aquariums to go. If you are enjoying the video, it really helps me out to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. But we'll check out some of the tanks in the center of the room now. Tricky one to get a good angle on, as you can probably ascertain, but here we've got another 3-foot stand, 2 tanks high, and here we have a tank with some white clouds in it. Again, a really underrated fish. Beautiful fish is the white cloud. So these guys have been naturally breeding for me as well, although they have stopped in recent times, so I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of that. Maybe they're just getting a little bit older, or maybe it's adjusting to the conditions of the warm room, whereas before they were unheated in an unheated room. But yeah, super underrated fish is the white cloud, and I really love this tank. Really simple scape again. We've got heaps of rhizome plants including the Bulbitis, narrowleaf Java fern, Anubias. We've got an Amazon sword in there, and we got some pennywort as well. Just set it, forget it, couple of crypts, and yeah, it just does its own thing. And then down below that, I just won't be able to show it other than an overview, is a tank that has remained in the same form for about 3 years now. And that is my tank of peppermint bristlenose, sunset Platys, and just some wild type shrimp at this point. Heaps and heaps of Vallisneria, but I've done absolutely nothing to this aquarium in so long, and it just remains super, super fun. All 3 fish are producing as well, which is always good fun. And as a little tip, if you are trying to breed peppermint bristlenose, I've also got a pair of standard bristlenose in there. And I find that the hormone from breeding standard bristlenose helps to trigger the peppermints to get a move on as well. So yeah, really, really fantastic tank, and very, very simple, but a great combination. Next up, we have 4 aquariums here, which are 2 foot deep by 40 centimeters high by varying widths, but mostly around about 35 to 40 centimeters. To get started with, I just have sort of a plant storage tank over here. No fish in that one whatsoever. Next to that, I have a tank with my red Morii Tropheus. Really, really beautiful fish. One that I actually stumbled upon by accident just in a fish store one day. But sometimes those are the best species of fish to keep. Yeah, fantastic fish, and I'm enjoying how those guys are growing and tracking. You definitely want to keep feeding vegetable matter to Tropheus though, because they do experience bloating fairly easily. Next to those, I have some Trophiops chilumba, which are one of those awesome African cichlids where the males are blue and the females are yellow. Unfortunately, of my 6, I think I have about 5 males and 1 female, which means some bad news for that female if any of those males do start to get a bit frisky, especially if it's 2 at one time. So I'll probably be moving these guys along fairly soon. But I've really, really enjoyed them. And starting off with 6 small yellow fish and seeing them turn into what they have has been a really cool experience as well. Next to them, I have my German blue rams, which I've had for about a year now. And I'm really hoping to get the breeding ramping up on those guys soon as a bit of a bucket list sort of thing, having historically always struggled with rams before. But these guys seem fairly stable, and I'm hoping that yeah, we can get them going pretty soon. But again, one of those fish that you might see them all the time, but they're super underrated, and I definitely like dwarf cichlids as well. Second last aquarium I've got to show you is my 4x2x2 or 120 by 60 by 60 aquarium here, housing my rainbow fish, and just over there, a purple spot gudgeon. There's 2 purple spot gudgeons in there, a couple of tetras and a couple of cories. Yeah, super, super active tank, heaps of color. There's a bit of tannins in there because I just put a heap of driftwood in there, which obviously is leaking those tannins. And I've just got some plant grow out spare plants in there as well, but I'm liking the way that they're coming on, so I'll probably end up leaving them like this. Again, super, super set and forget, enjoyable aquarium, gives a different sort of perspective to the other aquariums in this room, but no intention of breeding anything in here for the near future anyway. And just sitting back and enjoying these beautiful fish. So in terms of the rainbow fish, of course, we've got Bozeman rainbow fish, we've got black banded rainbow fish, turquoise rainbow fish, and Irian red rainbow fish as well. So a nice little mixture there, but multiple Melanitania, so I definitely won't be dropping a spawning mop in here or anything like that. And last but certainly not least, we have the biggest aquarium in my fish room. It's a 4x3x2 aquarium, or 120 centimeter by 90 centimeter by 60 centimeter. And it houses my Saratoga Lycardi, which you can see swimming around the top of the aquarium. We also have 4 tiger Oscars in there and 4 striped silver dollars, which have been with me for a long time now as well, a couple of years at least. And yeah, really, really enjoyable aquarium. I do have the intention of scaping this guy out soon in probably a creative way involving 3D printing. So if you're interested in seeing that, definitely stay tuned and check it out. I do enjoy nano fish, but I also enjoy having a couple of big wet pets to keep me entertained. And these guys certainly do that, being situated right next to my desk. Yeah, certainly enjoyable experience watching this Saratoga go from about yay big to now over 2 foot long. And yeah, really, really enjoy feeding this tank as well, which the fish can be quite aggressive on the food. So yeah, thoroughly enjoy this tank as well. So there you go guys, that is my updated full fish room tour. Hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy putting these things on for you, but they do take quite a lot of effort. So if you did enjoy it, it always helps me out to smash like, hit subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I've got heaps of fun things planned for this year to go through with you, and hopefully you can come along for a nice fun journey. Other than that, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.